to be what it's about. And so I think we've got a great culture within our head coaches, that they appreciate the value that UConn provides, not just from an athletics experience, but in total. When we provide an opportunity for a student athlete to come to UConn, there's a lot of value in that. And I read something this morning. Maurice Claret, who's actually been here, a former Ohio State running back. He's worked with our men's basketball team. But what I read this morning, I'm not sure when he put it out, was that he didn't appreciate the value proposition that when you select the university that you attend, what comes with that. And I'm not talking about the direct compensation or NIL. I'm talking about what happens 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years after you've gone. The relationships, the alumni network, the bonds, the relationships that can help propel you through life. And so I don't think you can lose sight of that, and I think we need to continue to lean into that in a way that it should be an honor and a privilege to be able to come to UConn, and it shouldn't just be about the money. However, resources are part of it, and we're going to do everything we can to be competitive within the market. But we're not trying to set the market, so to speak. We're trying to provide what we believe can help us be competitive at the levels that we expect to in our different programs, and where we continue to want to get better, we'll continue to try to do everything we can to provide the resources to go along with it.
So David, just to give an idea of where the bar is $20.5 million for UConn, is that out of reach for you guys, or do you feel like you could get there or close to it, or whatever you get, it's enough?
Yeah, Dom, you talked about the fact that we're not receiving the media dollars that our other peers are, and that's true. And that makes it, from day one every year, you're at a major disadvantage, because if your media deal and your conference is paying you $5-6 million and someone else is getting 35 to 50, you're behind the 8 ball. But just like this past weekend, you don't say, oh well we can't compete then. You have to find other ways. You got to be innovative. You got to be creative. You got to do a better job engaging people to become investors. Obviously, the state and the university continue to support us in ways that help mitigate some of that. So we're very appreciative and thankful. And everyone should know we wouldn't be able to do it without that kind of support. But we also raised an all-time high of $51+ million this past year. And so the external community is responding, and they are supporting us in ways that at other institutions, aren't necessarily receiving as much. And so we are more desperate. We come in every day with a desperation to continue to drive every and all aspects of revenue that we possibly can, because we know that if we're successful in doing that, then ultimately that's going to lead to success for our coaches and our student athletes. And so there's a desperation right now, more so than there has been probably at any other time, Dom. But there's a confidence that we're going to stay competitive. I'm pretty certain of this, that we have the highest budget outside of the P4 in the country. And it's not that we're necessarily proud of that, but it's because of the work that's being done by so many that we're in a situation that we can compete at a very high level.
Okay. Dan wrote, I guess, in his book, and it came out last week, that he considered stepping down, going into TV at the end of last season. I'm just wondering, were you aware of that? Were you in the loop on that? Did you know he was thinking that way, or did that kind of hit you out of left field?
Did it hit me out of left field? No. I would say, look, we all can appreciate, and I'm sure that there's people that love that side of Coach Hurley, where he's, unabashedly honest with his emotions and how he feels. I think, which is not how people look at headlines like were reported last week, but someone took, an excerpt of his book that was pretty significant. They honed in on this one line. But when you think about it and you put it in the context that you went through a season, you won a national championship when no one expected it, you're on that roller coaster, and then you start another year and you win another one. And then there's expectations, whether appropriate or not, to win a third. And so I think, everyone's got to take a step back and appreciate what that group went through for 3 years. And when someone says that they're fried or they've got no energy left, it's because of the demands that he puts on himself and the rest of that program with how they operate, which is why they were in the position that they were in. It's why that, outside of one individual making a couple shots, we win that game against Florida. But, I can appreciate the realities of what that roller coaster was like for 3 years in a row. It's a long time to be in that situation. So, I'm never surprised by anything Coach says. Again, I appreciate his honesty and the fact that he's willing to share insight into things that most people would never provide outsiders into that kind of thoughts and emotions that run through his mind. Do I think that was something that lasted very long? No. At least based on what I saw, they were back in the office pretty quickly, figuring out how they were going to move forward. So, I was never in a place where that was a concern for me. Doesn't mean it wasn't real. Doesn't mean that's not really how he felt. But I think those are emotions. We all go through emotions at different times. And I think ultimately once you can get away from the emotion, you start to think rationally and you make good decisions. And, Dan's meant to be the UConn men's basketball coach. He's a great fit. He's going to do unbelievable things, and he'll be the next Hall of Famer.
If the NBA were to come calling for Dan Hurley, and then do you guys have like a plan B?
I have a plan B. Yeah, let's start talking about the next coach that I'm going to hire. No, at this point in time, I wouldn't. I'm not going to even speculate. Dan's going to be here. He's going to be our coach, and I look forward to watching him win more championships and hang more banners. Great, thanks, David. All right.